Hi everyone, it's Agnieszka from 5 Minute Language. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, my channel is all about learning foreign languages. So I give you my top tips on how to learn foreign languages effectively and independently. And I also talk a lot about learning English and give you some tips and advice for how to become fluent in English. So make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. I really appreciate it. So today's video is about how to learn English fast. And you're probably here because maybe you've been learning English for a while and you can't see any progress, or maybe you just have a specific goal. You're going abroad, you're going to work abroad or travel or study abroad, and you need to accelerate your progress. So this video is for you. I'm going to share with you my top tips on how to learn English more quickly. So the first thing I'm going to recommend that you do is learning idiomatic English straight away. So sometimes when people learn English, they start learning the basics and then they think that learning things like idioms and collocations is for more advanced learners. And some people take that approach, but actually what you can do to accelerate your progress is to focus on collocations and idioms straight away. And also when you're learning new words, learn them in context. So make sure that you see examples of sentences for every new word that you learn, because that will give you an idea of what kind of word combinations that word can form with other words. It will give you an idea of what idioms exist with that word and what collocations exist with that word. So for example, if it's a verb, it might be used with a specific preposition, or it might be used only in a specific context. So once you've learned that, you will make sure that when you need that word and you want to use it, you will know how to use it in context, and that what you're saying will actually sound more natural than if you didn't know the context, you didn't know the collocation or the idiom. So make sure you focus on idiomatic English straight away, even if you're a beginner or a pre-intermediate learner. The next tip I've got for you for how to learn English more quickly is learning phrasal verbs. And I'm sure you have heard this term before. Phrasal verbs is something that many people dread. When I was learning English, I dreaded phrasal verbs because there were so many of them. Sometimes there were, 10 different phrasal verbs that used the same verb, and it was really confusing, like the difference between look after and look down and look up and look for. You have to memorize the differences in meaning, and it's quite tricky and overwhelming. And many people think that phrasal verbs is something, again, that only advanced learners need to focus on, but actually phrasal verbs are incredibly useful. They are used by native English speakers all the time in everyday conversations, in more complex conversations. So learning them from the start will help you develop fluency more quickly and become more confident sooner. So make sure you focus on phrasal verbs from the start. Okay, my next tip is about building your synonyms. So if you want to learn English fast, you need to make sure that you're building and developing your vocabulary. And it's not just about learning new words. It's all about being able to express yourself accurately and freely, and really describe the things that you're talking about in the right way. So there is a reason why we have a lot of synonyms in English, and it's because they allow us to describe different things and ideas more accurately. So if you want to learn English more quickly, make sure that with every word that you learn, you also learn some of the synonyms that accompany this word. So when you're learning the word big, for example, make sure you look up the synonyms. The synonyms of that can be, huge, massive, considerable, significant, and all of these words will be used in different situations as well. So make sure you understand the differences between the synonyms when you're learning them too. So my next tip is about listening to and reading real English. And what I mean by that is reading and listening to material that is not specifically designed for English learners. So things like films, YouTube videos, interviews, news, blogs, news websites, anything that is written in English for native English speakers. And basically the reason I am telling you this is because in my experience, when I was learning English, when I was already kind of almost at the advanced level, because I used to go to a language school and I was in an advanced class. By that point, we watched a film in one lesson, which was Blair Witch Project, which is kind of like a horror film. I'm sure many people have seen it before. There isn't a lot of talking in it, but I remember I couldn't actually understand what they were saying, and I felt really bad because I thought, you know, I had all this vocabulary and I was really good at reading and I was really good at listening to the materials that we had for English learners, and I had already taken an English exam, which was like a Cambridge certificate, and I passed that. So I thought, well, what's wrong with me? And basically the reason I couldn't understand it was because it was real English. It was basically how English speakers speak when they're not talking to, you know, as part of a piece of learning materials for English learners. So make sure you expose yourself as much as possible to real English by watching movies and watching different shows and interviews and YouTube vlogs and videos to make sure that you're, you know, developing the ability to hear the different sounds and understand what is being said. And my final tip for learning English more quickly is speaking even to yourself. So even if you've got nobody to talk to, you don't know any native speakers, you can really do a lot by just speaking to yourself. I can give you an example of when I make these videos. You might think, oh, you know, I'm quite confident when talking to the camera, but this comes from practice. So I've made quite a lot of videos already, and if you watch some of my older videos, I don't sound very natural because I'd never done it before and I'm not very good at it. And then, you know, the more you do it, the more you speak to the camera, you become more confident and more fluent, and that just comes from practice, and it can come from speaking to yourself as well. So obviously when you speak to yourself, you won't be corrected because there's nobody there to give you feedback, but it does develop your confidence, especially if you are using, you know, phrases that you're learning, new collocations that you're learning in English. So I definitely recommend it, but also take all the opportunities there are out there to speak English to other people as well. So I hope you enjoyed these 5 little tips. Make sure you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and give this video a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you next time for another English language related video. Bye!